Hey everyone, welcome back to the DeFi Scoop. I know it's been a long hiatus. I know some of you have been waiting like, where's the DeFi Scoop? Where's the DeFi Scoop? I'm like, I got you. And I got more JPEGs this time because I have the Winny NFT here. Winny, how are you doing?
I'm great, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So a little intro of Winny. She's at Schiller. You've only really been in NFT. You've been in NFTs for like almost a year, right?
Yeah, almost a year. I started off as a researcher actually in blockchain. So that was where in 2019 is when I started my research journey into it. Before I even knew what an NFT actually was. So the whole backstory of how I got in was I wrote the undergrad thesis on the application of blockchain for fashion transparency and sustainability. Wrote about CryptoKitties, wrote about Fabricant and all of this, like without even mentioning NFTs.
You wrote about CryptoKitties without mentioning NFTs?
It was just like, I didn't know. I tried to find it in the thesis and I never actually used that word, which was just crazy.
What did they use instead?
I can't even remember. I'm not reading through it. It's the worst paper I've ever.
You just don't. I know, I have it handy right here.
Yeah. And then, just kind of like ignored it for a while. Because I then did my master's degree and stuff. And then when I finished my master's, I didn't really have anything to do, trying to find a job in the market. So I just kind of went back into NFTs.
Yeah.
And
you've come full circle, basically.
Much, yeah.
So what were you doing before NFTs? Were you doing fashion stuff? Was because like your thesis was on that?
Yeah, so I was in fashion and then I did like my master's degree in like computer science and business. I wanted to kind of transition more into the tech side of things, worked at a few tech startups during that time period as well. Had my own startup, which was just an absolute, I don't know if I can swear on this show, can I swear?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
It was an absolute shit show.
What was the startup?
It was like peer-to-peer student housing platform to match students with landlords. Because I'd just been recently like fleeced by like a student housing estate agency to get my house and masters, and I was just fed up with estate agents, fed up with their fees, fed up of not having like landlords.
And you wanted to make a change. You're like, fuck this shit. I'm gonna do this on my own, and so no one has to suffer.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you're doing that, and then what? So then what happened after the startup?
COVID hit, so the complete student housing market just crashed. I was writing my thesis, moved to my second thesis, which was just a mess. We don't talk about it. And I was like full stack web dev for a while. I was UX UI, did a bit of branding and all that kind of stuff. Super underpaid. Got fed up with all of that, being like a creative, how the creative industry and certain aspects of the tech industry, especially when you're a freelancer, they just don't pay very well. Just kind of ended up transitioning into working on like blockchain-based applications and websites. So doing that kind of design, that kind of builds. And then it was just kind of a gradual progression into NFTs.
So you were freelancing in blockchain applications. And then slowly you're like, wait a second, what's this NFT thing happening? Is there like one NFT moment that was like, whoa, like I should really pay attention to this? Was it Beeple? Was it something else?
It was Beeple. It was like the Beeple and Xcopy and just that kind of genre of art. I knew of like CryptoPunks and stuff, but just didn't, it was just like, it was on my radar, but it just didn't really click with me, like punks and stuff. I started seeing, because I remember from further back from the art side of things, and that was when I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. For my undergrad, when I did fashion, I specialized in digital textile design, and I had like so many digital designs, and I was like, it's such a shame I have such a massive portfolio of all of this digital work, but you can't sell that.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying that I have all of these other people, like the people on my course who did like screen printing and stuff, they could sell their printed samples. And as someone who was from a digital background, from the more the graphic side, I couldn't do anything with my work.
Oh, okay. And you saw NFTs as an opportunity. Oh, hey, there's so much that I can do with my work.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember with CryptoPunks, I first saw them in 2019. A friend of mine bought one and he was like, hey, I bought this for a few $100. And I was like, I don't get it. It's just a pixelated face. For like the longest time I didn't get it. I started to get it first when the NFT like first boom happened in like March, April-ish, February, March, April. But then I really got it only this past month, to be honest, or like over the past month, because of just the context behind punks and just the cyberpunks that are really the foundation of crypto and the internet as we know it. And that's like an ode to them. And one day I aspire to have a punk. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not.
My goal is to have a punk. I want wild blonde punk.
A blonde punk.
Pink hair, black cap.
Yeah. I don't even know what kind of punk I want. Probably one that looks like me. Probably one with, I think it would be one, I don't know. One with an eye patch or a mohawk would be cool.
I think that would look cool.
Yeah. Back, like, when I was younger, I actually did have a mohawk. And you see, like, an early picture of me in my school yearbook with the worst looking mohawk. It was really embarrassing. I hope no one digs that up. So,
I used to be bald.
You used to be bald? I
used to be bald. This is a grow out from when I shaved my head during lockdown.
Oh, wow. I did the opposite. Wow. I had my hair grow out during lockdown. Oh, I really hope no one like digs up my picture of my mohawk or like my grown out hair.
I'm so determined to find this picture of your mohawk. I will contact your mum or something.
It's in my yearbook, so if you find out where I went to school, maybe you can just go dig, but I don't know. Who knows? But anyways, how has your NFT, I guess, thesis kind of changed from when you first got into NFTs earlier this year till now? What do you think makes an NFT not just monetarily valuable, but aesthetically valuable as well?
For me, it has to be how I feel they relate to me. I kind of have this thing for like pink-haired NFTs. And like my mutant's pink hair, my doodle has pink hair, my groupie has pink hair. Like if my dead fella could have pink hair, I'm sure it would have pink hair. But I just find that a lot of my NFTs actually just kind of resemble me personally. And that's why I don't want to say I get like emotionally attached to my JPEGs, but
You do get emotionally. I am my JPEG and my JPEG is me.
It's true. Yeah, the JPEGs stay on during sex, as they say.
I have a tendency to buy JPEGs with mohawks. My pudgy penguins, they all have mohawks. I have barn owls with mohawks. I just like low-key just really want a mohawk again. my like the fungible fungi, the one I got today has a mohawk. Oh, no way.
Yeah, made out of grass.
May I make an offer?
It's 25 ETH, so.
Oh, geez, never mind. Nice. Cool.
Looks rare.
Looks rare. Sounds rare. I guess you're like early on in NFTs when you first got into it, like what were you doing? Like were you just in random communities? Were you just browsing OpenC? What were you doing?
I was mostly just on Twitter. I spent a lot of my time on Twitter just trying to learn. I was reading a lot and just finding out that everything that I was reading was just shite. I was on like OpenC. I was thinking mostly about like how I could apply myself to the space and what I could bring to it. I was super nervous about engaging with the community at first. Like it took me up until about March to really start speaking to people. The person I was dating at the time was telling me how stupid it was and that I should get off Twitter and all of this, so which kind of like made me super reserved with getting in.
You really showed him.
Yeah. And he was like, this is really dumb. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty dumb. Staying up at night and like scrolling Twitter.
I would call it absurd, the whole thing.
It is absurd, but I love absurdity.
Yeah, life is absurd anyway, and this just puts basically a spotlight on how absurd life is. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite JPEGs that I have are my 2007 Kia Sedonas, because they're the most absurd.
Yeah, you told me about these.
They're literally just pictures of used cars. I don't think there's like a better metaphor for NFTs, like a very tacky used car salesman from the mid 2000s just trying to push
every shiller that's like promoting, like that just made me think of Lazy Lions under Gary Vee tweets.
That's literally it. Lazy Lions are like the modern day Kia Sedonas. That's exactly kind of the spirit that they bring, but it's like really fun. There's kind of like a wholesomeness to it in a way. It's like,
it's like yeah, instead of when Lambo.
when JPEG.
Yeah.
When punk. But anyways, you're doing research, and you realize a lot of the research you were doing was kind of bunk research. Like, can you go into that? Where you realize that like no one knows what they're talking about?
Yeah, like I was even just trying to find some decent articles to read today, just because I'm starting a new role somewhere. And I was just trying to read up on like asset-backed NFTs. The article that I came across was like, how would you feel about buying Jacobs of Bitcoin? And I was like, wrong. And then the second thing, a brief overview on NFTs. And I was like, when NFTs came about in 2020, and I was like, shut up. I'm done with this article.
Next.
Yeah, thank you, next. And a lot of it is just paid clickbait. There is just so much misinformation going around. And I think education at this is so important. And it's made me want to start like academically writing again. I'm pursuing it a bit more just because, like, yeah, when I wrote my thesis, I nearly failed my undergrad because of it, because I had a fashion history lecturer who was like, no, everything that you're writing about could never happen. There's also no theories to support it. And I was like, yeah, duh, thesis. And like, And it was just so stupid.
I noticed a trend here of you just proving people wrong, just straight up, like 180. Like, not only just proving them wrong, but like proving them wrong to like such a degree.
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing to do.
When you were talking about NFTs, like not there being resources, I find this a problem with all of crypto, like all different parts, whether it's NFTs, DeFi, especially DAOs, because DAOs were just super new. They basically like, newcomers have to pay their dues. Like if they want to like get into it, they have to like join Twitter. Like if anybody's new, like listening to this, go on Twitter. I wouldn't say spend too much time on there, but spend like a good amount of time just like noticing like patterns. And I would say also just listening to podcasts, like either this one or like any, I don't know. Is there like any podcasts or resources you would recommend to people?
I'm not a real podcast person. Mm-hmm. I'm like a really visual person. I really struggle with listening. It's like I'm not an auditory person. So I tend to like to read, which is why I like articles. Mm-hmm. But for me, I'm quite lucky that I have a really good, solid groups of people that we just share knowledge. Like I'm so lucky with being part of Schiller that everyone on the team is crypto native, heavy into NFTs, and no question is a dumb question in our company. Today, so they didn't know how to one of the boys didn't know how to download a video from IPFS, and they're just like,
I don't even know how to do that, to be honest.
So I was like, yeah, but then I like say like I can do that, but then they can't do something. They can do something that I don't know. It's just constant sharing of knowledge, and I think between 6 people, well, there's 8 of us now. We just hired 2 interns. We have such a great pool of knowledge together, and we talk every day, all day, every day. I think just surrounding yourself with good people, getting involved with the right people, is the best way to do it. Learning through the community instead of like untrusted sources, I think, is the best way to learn.
Yeah. Participating in communities, reaching out to people, talking to people. That's really the only way you're going to learn. I've been in crypto for 4 years. That's basically how I learned, just surrounding myself with people. So I couldn't agree more. So Schiller's at 8 people now. Like when I last talked to you, it was at 5 people.
I know. So we've always been 6. We started off as 6.
The Schiller 6.
Yeah. And now we just hired 2 awesome, like super awesome interns. And we're probably going to be hiring 2 more. We're just taking off on the client side of things. So
what is Schiller and how did you join it?
So Schiller is a consultancy and marketing agency that specializes in community-based marketing. We help platforms, protocols, and projects launch in the NFT space by literally putting them right in front of their target audience. So between us, I think we have over like nearly 70K followers now, like 8 million impressions a month. Just everything we do is like Twitter Spaces or podcasts and just stuff that's engaging in the community. Because like the
treasure hunt in New York.
Yeah. Up treasure hunt, and like we had our truck as well going around New York, like with like I think 95 artists on it. We're doing the same again at Art Basel. In something such as crypto and NFTs, where it's such a trustless system, we are trying to build trust, and we're doing that by leveraging community, leveraging our networks, and just making sure that we are providing transparency. Because like when you see that there's all these accounts relentlessly shilling, like where's the trust? How do we know that these are like genuine people?
Ironic that your name is Schiller, but
that was.
You said like, you know, in a trustless community, like who can you trust? And
exactly.
Basically, like it's such like an uncharted path. You're basically carving out the paths that people can take. It's like, okay, I can rely on this and trust this. It's like what you're doing. It's what like I see easy doing.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really interesting. We did a talk at NFT London about utilizing anonymity in the NFT space to build trust. So like 3 of our team are punk holders. The rest of us are either like BAYC, MAYC, doodles. Like we all have like some good JPEGs that shows we're like heavily invested in the community. So we spoke about how we actually formed. Schiller started off through just one tweet. Like my Regema put out a tweet. Was it July, I want to say? Yeah, we had the same birthday as CryptoPunks actually, which is quite cool. Hey, there's a space in this space for like a genuine marketing and consulting agency. He wants to join. And I was like, I hate my job. Like, I'll do it. And then within like a few hours, we had like the Discord set up, the branding, the website, the Twitter space, the Twitter account. Within like a few, like 2 weeks or so, we had POAP as our first client.
Whoa, it happened so fast.
Yeah, and then we just grew from there.
Whoa, so what are some new things that Schiller has in the pipeline?
I don't know if we're even announced yet. Hume is a new project. It's pretty much utilizing the IP of Fluff. So I don't know if you've seen like Fluff World.
Yeah.
So there's one of them called Angel Baby, and she's this artist from the year like 3045, and she's releasing like music and she's lost in the desert, and there's this whole narrative and story behind it. So there's going to be some songs coming up from that, which is just, there's one song's called NFT, which is No Fucks Tonight, which is an absolute banger. So
no pun intended.
Yeah. That was terrible. Yeah, so that's a really cool project that's coming out soon. A platform that we're working with is, I'm sure you know CXAP, which is a minting platform. So we're helping them with stuff.
Wait, what is CXAP for the people that don't know?
So it is a minting platform that allows artists to mint on their own smart contracts. Minting on like OpenC and all of this, you've got full control over your contract, and it's very, IP ownership forward. And
I actually have to like ask you about that, because I've had like a few people hit me up. It's like, what should I do if I want to mint NFTs, OpenC or not OpenC? So like this sounds perfect.
For like one of ones, and especially I think for like photographers, I think CXAP is going to be the way forward.
Oh, okay, so they're for one. Are they really? They're not really for like 5,000 or 10,000 mint things.
No.
Okay.
It's one of ones mostly. So we have to just pay the gas fees, and then it just.
Speaking of gas fees, they're absurd right now. Speaking of absurdity, I'll even admit it. Like, what do you think about NFTs on other chains, like outside Ethereum? Ethereum is like the gold standard of NFTs. NFTs on Ethereum, just because the history, the culture, kind of like it's built up over time. I feel like other chains, they aren't there yet. Maybe they could get there. What are your thoughts? For
me, I just get like super lazy with trying to swap this to this, because then this to this, and then send it to another wallet and set up this wallet. And I hate faff. Like I come from like, a UX UI kind of background. And if something...
this must be a nightmare.
This is why I hate DeFi sometimes. Like, I find other chains just have too many steps. I am actually starting to work on this new platform which is coming out that, like I mentioned earlier, called Red. So it's asset-backed NFTs from like a fine art and street artist perspective, where they are fractionalizing NFTs and they're doing it on Polygon.
Okay.
And they haven't fully ironed out all the specifics of it yet. But that's, for me, I'm like, okay, this might be a really cool way to see how we can push Polygon forward, and also for mainstream adoption, because they're going to be bringing in mainstream artist collectors. Because it's of like fine art and real life art pieces. I'm really interested to see how there's going to be adoption from those outside like the crypto native, NFT native space, which to them might be more attractive. Like for someone like us, Ethereum is the gold standard. I mean, I think we're pretty committed to it with the.
Oh yeah, we're both inked out. Let me just throw my ankle up. Actually, no, I won't do that.
Yeah, so we're pretty committed to Ethereum. It's going to be really interesting to see how the next level of like adopters come to chains.
Yeah, because I know that Taos has a burgeoning NFT scene as well. A lot of people really spending money on Solana NFTs. They're like spending, I don't know, like tens of thousands of dollars on those. So like you really can't discount those. But I'll admit I have my biases. And I like my EVM chains, and I like my ETH. Speaking of ETH, what do you think is like the characteristics of like the average like NFT buyer right now, like someone who's like crypto native? What do you think like is the demographic of them? Like, what do you think they care about? What do you think priorities are when looking for an NFT? Like, what have you noticed? That's
actually really funny. I was writing like user profiles today for people in the NFT space and trying to make it as simple as possible for this company who's very used to doing traditional marketing. Really, it was really funny actually. I was user profiling on this kind of thing, and I was like, so I put it into like, whale, influencer, degen, and noob.
Influencer, degen, and noob. That makes sense.
Well, for me personally, it is like association and also just enjoyment. I think it really depends who you are. I could never, these whole like staking NFTs and stuff, first of all, there's never any information about them until they get into hands of influencers. So never, or like, the higher end alpha stack. So you never really get a chance with them. And then it's like almost creating this horrific sense of FOMO. That I think is really dangerous for the space. Like what happened with yesterday with like Wolf Game and stuff. So many people that I know didn't even know about it until the whales had come in, the influencers had come in, and then they pumped it to the public, and that's what brought it up. And I think that kind of ecosystem is super dangerous, because because then that becomes technically a high end, almost like an insider trading pump and dump scheme.
Yeah, that's not fun. Like it's like when people like collude like that. and then something just like blows up and they're at like such an advantage. I guess like the same thing happens with tokens as well to an extent, especially like in the ICO era. That's what you saw, like all the influencers got in early on like certain like ICOs and like, oh, get it. And it's like a Wild West. And like, I guess you're seeing a repeat of that as well. But I think like what that comes down to is just self-regulation and calling it out and being like, guys, this isn't cool. Like, what happened to the fun of collecting?
Exactly.
Honestly, it's like, to me personally, NFT space is really overwhelming sometimes. Like, JPEGs aren't overwhelming. I understand it, but like, there's always something new. There's like cool cats and doodles and this, and I'm just like, I'm not going to waste gas and chase after every NFT.
No, I'm the same. I'm super happy with my bags at the moment. Like, the only one thing I really want to get, like, I have like 2 things on my list left to get, and that's like a cool cat and like an art blocks, but I don't want to settle for something that I just don't like. I don't want to like buy a floor piece for the sake of getting it. I want to be like, this is like my mutant. I love my mutant, and I'm so happy with it. I have like a few art blocks, and I'll admit I like minted them when like I feel like art blocks was definitely at its most hype when I minted them. They had like the Dutch auctions and stuff, and so I minted a few, but I'm really happy with them. I'm like these are like some I like planned. Like, it's still like the background of my Twitter. It's been the background for like 5 months, but first, I like love vaporwave. I'm a huge vaporwave enthusiast, and so they had these like art blocks called Autorads, and they look like geometry textbooks, and they look just so cool. Yeah, I think I know the one that like kind of looks like it's like super like Saved by the Bell kind of style.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I just love that. I'm just like, these are so sick. Like, let me just like keep picking them up. What else do I have? One I really love, like one of my like favorites, are my Heaven computers.
I love Heaven computer.
I saw that like it just randomly on Twitter one night, and it felt like such an experience minting it. It's like you like throw them back to like 1995. It has this like vaporwave feel, and then it's like so weird. It's kind of like, in a way, like a little like disturbing. It's like, what are these like creatures like doing all these like weird like GIF movements and stuff? But it's just like so cool, and like I like the community behind it, and I love the artist. She's so well spoken.
I think it's amazing also as like a female to have created that project. And just be able to command such a great project. Yeah,
and she has such presence too. I'm low-key simping. Low-key. And also I think it's just like important to like support your friends out there that are artists as well. Like I have like a few friends that like have made NFTs in LA. Like one of them is snakes on a plane, and it has this like MySpace aesthetic of these like doodles of snakes taking mirror pics of their like emo snakes in the bathroom.
I love that. But like, I tried to get so many of my friends from, like, I went to art school, and it's so hard to show artists, some of them, how to make money. It's like, guys, come in.
Guys,
come make some money. And they're like, ooh, pyramid scheme. And I'm like, no. Like,
it's like they can't believe it. It's like, oh, what's like the catch? Like, this must be a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Because it's so against like what artists are used to. Like the broke artist, like archetype is so ingrained in their heads.
Oh, for sure. Like, that's what I really love. Like, but you came to Crypto Portal in Prague. Like, that's what I love that gallery. It's because it's just like, I can just be like, hey, friends, do you want to be shown in this gallery in Prague? And they're just like, we'd love to. And it's just a great way to be able to show art from all around the world and just bring artists in. Like, like artists who otherwise would have never had a chance. They would have been like trying to fight to get in galleries. These galleries would take 50% of their sales. They would never get royalties. Now this is for you. Yeah. And they're like, no, thank you. And I was like, what?
It's like they still can't believe it. Speaking of Prague, that's where I met you at NFT Castle. And that was dope. That was so sick.
That was the craziest night.
That was a crazy experience. I'm like, what did I get myself into?
I didn't even realize I was going till the day before, and I didn't have a gown or anything. Gown. Didn't have a gown.
I didn't have a tuxedo till like 2 hours before. 2 hours before, I didn't have a tuxedo. I had to go rent it like somewhere in the city.
Yeah, I went to Zara and I bought a €40 gown to wear to a gala at a palace.
I think the place where I rented the tuxedo was next to the Zara, like near the mall, like on the main street in Prague. Yeah. What did you think of like the overall experience of like NF Castle? Not just like the gala, but like the conference and meeting everybody there, talking to people, seeing all the artwork everywhere.
I thought it was absolutely awesome. I have these pictures that I took of like the fine art next to like the CryptoPunks or the fine art next to the ape. And I was like, this is it. This is the future. Like, and also just a premise behind NFC where they were using NFTs to restore physical assets. So it was almost like the reverse. Instead of, buying an NFT or a fractionalized like it's backed by a physical asset, they're backing a physical asset and supporting a physical asset with an NFT. And I just pioneering that space, especially in their lack of degeneracy, I guess. And it's
the
like
introduction of formalities,
adding an air of sophistication to the NFT space, I guess.
Yeah, it really it felt like it leveled up NFTs. Like it's like, whoa, it's at the level of that. Literally, a noble family is hosting a summit, and they're using it to, like you said, sell NFTs to restore artworks. Like I think my favorite thing about it was how well they merged the traditional art world with NFTs and JPEGs. And they combined like traditional art people and like people from high society and stuff like that, which is like crypto people and degens like me. And I'm just like, and they did such a good job like introducing, and like I felt like I just wanted like more. I was just like, oh, like I wish this was like longer, and like, oh, I can't wait till next year.
Exactly. But it was also really great that these people, like the higher society, the investors and all these kind of people spoke to us in such a way that I was just not used to being spoken to actually for them, because they saw me as someone who understood the space, and they were there because they were interested. And it was so nice to see this mash of people who normally wouldn't really put in a room together, listen to each other and just think and drunkenly brainstorm or just drunkenly talk about how we can move the space forward. And I thought
drunkenly brainstorm
in a castle,
Yeah. I agree. Like everybody was just like seen as equals. And I think that was like super powerful. Like everybody was shown respect. It was like, oh, it was such like a small curated event. Like you had to like be there to know about it. Actually, like it was like open. Anybody could have like bought a ticket and like went. But like if someone like took the steps to be there, it's like, okay, you must care about this a lot. It was kind of like a meme signaling thing. My favorite part about it was like what they did so well was they made like crypto people feel like Renaissance patrons. And so like when they were like selling like all like the artwork and stuff, like especially like later in the night, there's like people just like Renaissance patrons, like they want to kind of like show off their wealth and status. And so then they go like buy art pieces, and it's like the same thing. Like they're doing the same thing, but to like restore like basically Renaissance art pieces, which is quite poetic in a sense. Like it's come full circle, and now like in their wallets they're gonna have like the NFTs and the story and the context behind it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was done so tastefully as well for such a small event. Yeah, it was really cool.
That was like the beginning of my travels. Like I literally haven't been back to LA. Like after that
I have this week here back in Paris, and then Friday I'm off to London, and then Monday Miami. Are you going to Metaverse? Oh, you have tickets, but you don't know if you're going to go.
No, I don't think I'm going to go. I think I'm just going to like just stay in LA for the next few months and just work. I'm just like I think I'm going to give away my ticket in Padawan DAO. I've decided.
Oh, really?
If I don't go. I haven't like announced it yet except here, but like I'll probably give it away in Padawan DAO. I want to like talk to those guys because I think it would be really cool to get just like a youngin like who's in NFTs and Metaverse, give them that ticket. They can like gain more out of it. What do you think is like, how would you describe your experience like working in NFTs and crypto after like going to these conferences and meeting people and all that?
I'm so ill.
I'm so ill. I'm so tired. I think everybody gets ill. I don't know how I'm still doing it. I'm not ill. I haven't gone. Oh, I did get ill after a few trips, but not after this one. But yeah, continue. I
found like my ADHD hyperfixation. Like no matter how much I want to stop, I can't. Mm-hmm. And it's like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I have to be like, oh, I've got an idea for work. I've got an idea for this. Got an idea for that. I can't actually switch off. Yeah, I was like super depressed in my old job because it was so underpaid. I was stressed about like money quite a lot, you know. Now it's like I'm super liberated in like every factor of my life. I have so much anxiety still, but it's like I'm the happiest I've ever been, but I'm also like the most anxious I've ever been. And it's just this. What
is that anxiety? I'm sure you're not alone, but like, what do you think? Is it like anxious for like, oh, like, am I supposed to like be here? Like, what's going on? Or is like, oh, like, I'm not sure what's going to happen?
A lot of it is imposter syndrome. for me.
Oh, yeah. I think that's super common.
Especially like as a female in the space. I come from a tech background, but not like a super strong tech background. And then I just get scared that I'm going to get called out on my bullshit. I'll go through phases where I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get cancelled. Just something. And it just, or like everything's just going to disappear in like a split second. I never want that to ever happen. And it's like all of that as well, the space being super overwhelming. It's a lot.
You mentioned in that answer, like, what's it like being a woman in this space? Like, do you feel like it's better than like the old tech world? Like, what do you think can be improved?
It's like, I literally even put out a tweet today where like, women are still just being like used in a way. Like there's like, even at the simplest level of like, oh, tag women in the space that I should follow and are inspiring. Like you're trying to like show that you're coming from the right place, but you're just engagement farming.
Literally just engagement farming, yeah.
And I'm just like, but you're using women to do that. Like that's
even worse. That's like virtual signaling.
And like it's just small things like that really annoy me. And it's like you're not a woman artist. You're an artist. Why do you have to? I'm like, I'm not a woman developer. I'm a developer. One thing that I even noticed at like conferences and stuff, they're like, oh, you work at Schiller. I'm like, no, I co-founded Schiller. And they're like, oh my God, no way. Like, congratulations. And I'm like, okay, if I was a bloke, how would this conversation go? But it's like this thing, we don't want special treatment. We don't want special treatment.
People just want to be treated as people. Yeah, no, I completely get that. What are some like emerging trends you see in NFTs right now that haven't really been talked about?
The trend is that people are promising games and just like that they're not going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a game. This is going to be like, is it really? Yeah, I just don't really believe that side of a lot of projects. So that's a big trend. Over-promising roadmaps, big trend.
This is the same thing as ICOs. Literally. Yeah. Like, once I saw NFTs, like, come out with roadmaps, I'm like, oh God, it's over. Like, no. Like, it's like, it was better when there was just, like, no expectation or just JPEGs.
I'm in it for the JPEGs at the end of the day.
I'm in it for the JPEGs. I'm in it for the culture. That's what I tell people.
Yeah, I am. Like, fully, I've had that conversation with so many people. I'm just like, you don't understand. Like, it's not just what's on the surface. It's the entire community behind it. Yeah, the culture here is just awesome.
Speaking of culture, inkedout, your ERC721 tattoo. What made you want to get that? And like, what does it mean to you? Did you first see me with it or did you see someone else with it?
No, because I told you that I was going to get it, remember, when we were in that bar. And you were like, oh, yeah, go on. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I didn't even know that there was the DAO behind it. I just get it because it's like, I got into Ethereum in like 2017. And like, that's like paid for my school and everything and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
So like, that was a really cool thing for me. And then for it to now be my like full life, and it's just changed my life. Like I get to travel, like because of JPEGs, I get to I complain about traveling all the time because I am tired, but like I love it. And I'm so far from where I was even just a year ago. Yeah, when I finished my master's, I applied for like 250 jobs and I got nothing because it was during a pandemic. Everyone was either cutting staff or like hiring the people that had been laid off after 20 years in the industry, and I was coming fresh out of school with like no experience. I was like, fine, I'll do it myself then. And it's just been, for me, it's just a massive embodiment of like what I've achieved. And like I'm a very big believer in like I don't say big believer. I like to think there's patterns, there's reasons, there's all of this. I'm going to sound really, actually no, this is pseudoscience. I'm not going to get into pseudoscience.
No. What are you going to say?
I know it's fun. No, I'm not going to go into my pseudoscience. When it comes to like palm reading, I don't really believe in all of this, but like it was just a nice thing. Like your left hand is the life that you were like born with, and the right side is the life you chose. For me, that's got like a lot of meaning to it.
Is the tattoo on the right side then?
Yeah, the tattoo's on my right side, and then I've got my snake one on this side.
Nice. Yeah, for inkedout and me, like I think like for like everybody inkedout, like this whole, it's more than just an industry. It's a culture. It has its own set of values. I feel like I really resonated in. I feel like I found my people after all these years. I wrote in the article, like I view the tattoo as meme signaling. It's like I know people that like, have taken the steps to get this tattoo. Like we share like some of the same values on some level, and somebody that I would want to talk to and be friends with. And what I love about inkedout is we're just all vibing. We're all just vibing in our group.
I was going to say, like, I don't want to say like I've always been like a bit of a loner, but I've never really like fit in, or I've always just moved, and it's just I've never felt like I've had a grounding within a group of people, and I've really found that in the NFT space.
Awesome.
Like especially with Schiller, when we started that company, I got 5 big brothers out of it. Like it's every night, it's good night fam, good morning fam, like good night love you. It's so cute. I genuinely love those boys to pieces. And it's just, I found my family with it.
I love that. Came for the JPEGs, ended up with the family. Next thing I was going to ask, so what do you think about other parts of crypto, DeFi and DAOs, and like what do you think is intimidating about it? Like to like NFT people, especially DeFi.
DeFi is like the whole, me, like I don't really do much in DeFi because it does confuse me, some of it. Like I said, like the user journey with, you have to swap this for this and this for this and this for this to do this, to stake this, to farm this. And I'm like, let me click a button. Like, just let me, like, do it for me.
It sounds like it needs to be automated.
Yeah, I think it does need to be.
I wonder what could automate it. It's not like there's an automation. I'm just kidding. It's Gelato, but shameless plug. But yeah, you're right. The user experience is like really rough. Think about when the first computers came out in like the 70s and 80s. You had to like put the hardware together. Like no regular person's going to do that. Only like nerds like me are going to go and do that. And so like, and I don't even know if I'll do that, but the user experience isn't there. But like I guess like what I was going to ask is like, what do you think would make DeFi like less intimidating to NFT people? Because I find NFT people to be like the perfect target market for consumer DeFi, because they already did the hard stuff. They're already like using like MetaMask, they're sending ETH and like interacting with smart contracts. Like the next step would just be just depositing to Aave or just doing really simple stuff. This
is literally what I always say, and I should be doing it myself, but it's just like I read about it and then my attention span just goes somewhere else. I think NFT people are exactly the right people to be bringing in to DeFi, because like you've already got that first barrier to entry completely knocked down. It's just education at the end of the day. Like it should be, trying to read about it. Again, there is just so much, you don't, like sometimes you just don't know where to start. And I think that's it, especially when like, you just have two completely different mindsets, really. Artists want to create art. They don't want to spend hours reading about, like, I don't know, I can't assume, but it's, it's your target audience, but like, which part of NFT are your target audience? Is it the artists? Is it the projects? Is it like, should you be collaborating with projects to get them using DeFi with their NFTs, like doing kind of like a crossover farming situation? And it's just like, it's like you get like a boost if you like stake, if you're like, oh, here's a punk, like this NFT is for like, you get a boost in our farm or something. Like I always say that the stock market, the NFTs is a stock market for toddlers. Because I feel like I love that. I feel like I've got, in a lot of my brain, like I've just got a toddler brain. Like I'm ADHD, like super ADHD. Don't worry, I am too. I'm just a giant kid. So yeah, that's how I genuinely feel, and I'm like, I'm not ashamed to say it. Like I enjoy things that I find enjoyable. So if I can, what's so crazy about that? Enjoy things that you find enjoyable. And I know, right? It's almost like we were taught as adults that we shouldn't be doing that and we should be miserable. I can enjoy DeFi, then yeah, maybe. I feel like the way to make DeFi enjoyable is, this is where like the metaverse comes in. If you make it like a game, like I have to give a shout out to DeFi Kingdoms. Have you heard of it? It's on Harmony. It's like a game. It looks like Pokemon like Yellow or something. And like they have like a Dexing game, and like the characters are like NFTs, and like there's heroes and stuff. I think like the key for like DeFi to be understandable, not just the NFT people, but just to like everyone, is if it's like set up like a game, and it's like you're like this little character and you go into like the Bank of Aave and you like go and deposit, and then you like go into like the Uniswap exchange, and just like it's just like an exchange, and it's just like really friendly, because like it's just like super intimidating, right? The metaverse is here, but it's just spread out. That's like one of the things I always talk about. Completely. And I think for years, from your perspective, we have taken the concept of gamification completely wrong. This points-based system and all of this, I'm like, that is not what we mean by gamify. You like, Wreck-It Ralph style, metaverse, Club Penguin style, whatever. You're physically in, like if you had a bank in Decentraland and like you could just go in and start doing all these things. There's actually something called Atlantis World. That's exactly that. You can just like deposit. They have like the Bank of Aave and like Yearn, and you can just like deposit your stable coins and stuff. I like that. That's the kind of thing that I enjoy, because it's like, it's a game. It's literally, I mean, this is all a game. I feel like crypto's just one giant like MMORPG, and like you have like your tokens and your MetaMask, you have your collectibles, NFTs. Twitter's the town square, like Discord. That's all I said. I say I'm pretty much just completing side quests at this point. Like, I have to make it to Metaverso in Puerto Rico and like, keep my stamina up and See, it's a game. You need your rest. You gotta like, you have to like restore your health and stuff. You're gonna have challenges. There are boss levels. There's all this stuff. Yeah, like for me, yeah, like NFC was just a big side quest. That was like,
yeah. Speaking of boss levels, what do you think of Constitution DAO and how they lost to Ken Griffin, the Citadel? Talk about a boss, like a boss.
Showed their top bid. My friend, shout out to Liz Wang, the meme.
Liz. Shout out Liz. We love you, Liz.
We do love you. For her memes on that. That was poetry, her memes around the Constitution. I found it hilarious. It actually just shows the power now that like money is getting distributed. And people who haven't had, like, you know, it's bringing up classes and people who actually, like, I don't know how to even put it, ethics, morals, everything, coming from a different money mindset. And you think, oh, shit, we could do some really cool stuff if we all just pulled together and went, fuck it, and pulled the trigger on something ridiculous. How far can this go?
I think we buy land.
This is what I was saying.
Literally buy it's like save the rainforest, literally.
No, but like, I know, or further than that, I was like talking to one of my friends, I was like, what if, hypothetically, we banded together, there's going to be a country that has a price for an island or some land, and then we'll be, like, you can literally then form your own government, you can form your own banking system, your own taxes system, just by people forming these, like, you know, groups, these DAOs, and pooling together a ridiculous amount of funds and doing that. What is the limit?
There is no limit. Like, that's definitely possible. Like, create not just like an island, but like imagine just like buying up like a college that went out of business. You already have like the campus and infrastructure there, and you just like turn that into like the ultimate like Web3 like the Metaverse Academy, basically. It's just like people, and as we talked about earlier, like the biggest problem in crypto is like if you're new, there's not a lot of people you can talk to because probably like all your friends aren't into it. You're like trying to do research, but there's no good information out there. If we can just get like everybody that's like actually like curious in like one spot, get them with like the right mentors like at a college, then that'll be just golden. Yeah,
like a festival, but with education. I was like, a conference. Conferences.
A conference, yeah. That's why I'm a big fan of the Coffin Circuit. I definitely plan on like heading to ETH Denver and Shelling Point, which is before that Kevin Owaki's and Gitcoin's hosting. Like I just like love being around the community and the people. It's just like, you know, especially like going to stuff like MCon, which Metacartel through, just like it's very idealist. It's like we can actually like do some shit. We can actually change the world and build a better world from before. And I'm like definitely an optimist and idealist at heart. And I know not all like roses and flowers, but like I like to think like we can get pretty damn close.
No, I completely agree with you on that. But yeah, I'm going to DeFi-Con actually.
You are going to DeFi-Con.
So we're doing like another little mini POAP treasure hunt there as well. I'm going to be in New York anyway, so I'm like, I need to learn about DeFi, and where better than our like magical made up place of these educational talks.
Yeah, I think it's like very good for people that are in like one area of crypto to get like cross-pollinated into other areas. Like I'm DeFi Dave, and I try my best to keep up with like DAOs and the Metaverse and NFTs. I find DAOs to be fascinating. Like I think like DAOs are going to just be, it's the layer zero that underpins everything. Like you can just have DAOs for NFTs, you have DAOs for
like B2B
DeFi.
SaaS, but with people.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You have communities. Like that's why like probably like one of my favorite people to listen to in the space is Aaron Wright. Do you know who he is?
No.
He's like the guy who started OpenLaw just like super early to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and he started Flamingo DAO, which was like the first NFT collector DAO, like the LAO, like the first one of the first venture DAOs and stuff. And like just listening to him, just like he just sees where the space is going, and he's a lawyer, like by trade. What an advantage. Anyway, he just had a podcast on the Seed podcast. It was like with the guy, Jesse from Seed Club. But I recommend listening to that podcast to like learn about DAOs and stuff.
Oh yeah, I know Seed Club. Yeah, they're the accelerator, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the DAO accelerator. Like, to be honest, like...
I think we applied to them in our early days.
Oh, damn, they missed out, it sounds like.
We did okay.
It's like the trend of winning, just like you can't spell Winnie without win. That's all I gotta say.
Exactly. That is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But, what was I gonna say? Like DAOs are just like one of those things that are just like so new, and like they don't really have like a set definite. I mean, like it's still very malleable, like what DAOs are expected of DAOs, because they're just like all kinds of DAOs that like. I'm in like a few DAOs, and like they're just like group chat. Like the best DAOs are just people vibing in a group chat, just like and bonding and stuff. When it gets serious, it gets like lame.
I've been in DAOs that, like, you know, they're a bit, they're not, like, some of them just take it, I would say take too seriously, but it's just, there needs to be that element of fun to it, otherwise you just get wiped out, and it's like overworked and all this kind of stuff. So it is best to just kind of keep your mission statement and move forward.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Like, even like, you know, you have like the honeymoon period when the DAO begins, but like when people like actually want to like do like work, like you need to have like a strong mission and like those like core contributors to like keep, you know, adding and like iterating and like keeping the DAO alive. Because it's like, I feel like it's easy, especially in this space in the crypto, it's like very easy to go to one place and then float to another, and because there's just always something new coming up. So like, how do you like stick to something that like already like has?
Also, it's rewarding. It has to be super. It has to be like mutually rewarding. You have to get out of the DAO what you put in, because if you're giving too much, then that it gets like exhausting. So yeah, completely. Yeah, it has to just. The whole point of the space is not to recreate that horrible corporate structure that we've been. That's the reason we're here. We don't want to be in that structure. Like sometimes I get worried because I'm like, I post so much shit on Twitter. And I'm like, who cares?
No, I love your Twitter is like fucking hilarious. And it's like, it's one of the funniest parts of my day, just seeing what you tweet. And I'm just like, she just said that's awesome. I just like go in, like I feel like I gotta stop liking her tweets because they're just so funny. And I can get in trouble for liking that.
Just get drunk and shit posts, and it's
hey, that's encouraged.
And it's just like, I'm not here to be in like a corporate environment. I worked in banking for 6 months, like private banking, in like 6 months of my entire life. And I was like, I vowed to never do that again and to do it for myself.
Yeah. I think it's like important, like in this like new world that we're like entering, is like we can still like not only just get our shit done, but like even do more and be more effective and more efficient, but also like have fun.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
The real gains are the friends we make along the way.
Amen to that. And yeah, I just met you like not even a month ago, like maybe a little over a month ago.
Was it over a month ago? Was it a month ago?
Yeah, it literally like, I know, it feels like way longer because like crypto is just like life goes times like 10.
I know, I think like, it's only been in like multiple countries with these people and stuff, and it's just like, oh yeah, like remember this time in Prague? Remember
like in Lisbon? Yeah,
and then people are like, oh, how long have you guys known each other? Yeah, like 3 weeks.
like I've only been in inkedout for 2 months. Like it feels like way longer. We're reaching the end of this. Do you have like any final thoughts, final words? Like where can people find you? Anything like that?
I'm like Winny NFT or Winny.eth on everything, including Deliveroo. So that's the easiest way to find me, is just Winny.eth with a Y, not an IE, which is very fun when I didn't have like she, her in my bio. Everyone's like, oh, Winny, bro, dude. And I'm like, excuse me. No.
No, it's Winny with a Y. Don't ask questions. Anyways, Winny.eth, the Winny, thanks for coming on. And hope to have you on again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for talking. I'll see you soon.
See ya.